Hey guys, this time I'm going to show you how to remove the fuel tank, the airbox, and the throttle body. In fuel-injected engines, the throttle body is the part of the air intake system that controls the amount of air flowing into the engine by actuating the throttle plate. When you open the throttle, it allows more air into the intake manifold, and the engine control unit responds by injecting more fuel based on feedback from several sensors. If your bike is idling abnormally, it might be because the throttle position needs to be adjusted. If you have a very high idle, it might be because of a leaky throttle body. A few quick reminders: work in a well-ventilated area and keep meticulously good track of all the fasteners. One really effective way to do this is to bag and tag everything. I learned that from another YouTuber, Life of Mike. Check him out. Anyways, put the bike on the stands, take off the fairings, and buckle up. First, we'll take off the fuel tank. It's held in place by 3 bolts, 2 ventilator tubes, 1 electrical connection, 1 plastic snap, and the fuel line. It will be easier to undo those connections if we tip the tank up a bit, so we'll start by undoing the bolts. To access the 12mm bolt at the front, you first need to pull off the fuel tank cover, which is held in place by 2 bosses. Just lift up and towards the windscreen. Now remove the 12mm bolt. Next, unscrew the 2 10mm bolts at the back. With the bolts undone, we can tip the tank up a bit and hold it in place with a 2x4. The 2 ventilator tubes are just held on by friction. Pull down on them slowly and they should pop off. Next, unplug the electrical connector by pressing on the tab and pulling back. The wires to the connector are held to a setting plate by a plastic clip. Pull this away gently. You'll probably need to push in on the plastic bits on the far side to help it through the setting plate. Last, the fuel line is connected to the fuel pump by a quick connect fitting. If it's super dirty, try to clean it before disconnecting to avoid allowing dirt into the fuel lines. To remove it, you need to push the retainer tab forward and then down while pulling gently. Be super careful because the fuel lines and the plastic connector can be damaged easily. Have shop tails around to absorb any fuel that leaks out. Once it's disconnected, you should cover the connector to keep dirt out. I used a cut finger from a glove. Careful about how you set the tank down. The fuel filter sticks out, and you don't want to rest the weight of the tank on it. Get something to prop it up. With the fuel tank removed, we can now remove the air cleaner housing and also start getting ready to remove the throttle body. Disconnect this gray 2-pin connector, this black 4-pin connector, the black tube on the left, and this black 2-pin connector. Free the fuel vent from the hose retainer and loosen the band clamp screw. Now remove the 4 bolts. In theory, you can now remove the airbox by sliding it off the throttle body intake. For me, it was stuck pretty tight, so I ended up removing the airbox and the throttle body as a set. To free the throttle body, we need to loosen 2 band clamp bolts. With the band clamp loose, pull it free from the engine by gently pulling and wiggling back and forth. Once it pops off, you'll have better access to disconnect the black 5-pin connector and also the spring clamps to the black and clear breather hoses. With the spring clamps away from the barbs, just pull the hoses off. The last thing holding the assembly to the bike is the throttle cables. I just removed the 2 screws holding the cable bracket and then pulled each cable around so that the cylindrical plug could slide out the side. I also put a little Sharpie mark on one of the cables and its corresponding home, so I'll know which one goes where when it's time to reassemble. Hopefully that helped clarify the process for removing the fuel tank, airbox, and throttle body for you. That's it for this time. Have a good one.